class, welcome. I want to talk a little bit about credibility and reliability because this week's assignment asks you to go out and find credible and reliable sources. It is not as easy as you think. As a matter of fact, probably when you've researched things before, you've landed on sources that are not credible or reliable. Most likely you landed on some sources that maybe were highly biased, outdated, so on and so forth. We know that this is not true. Of course it's true. I read it on the internet. But often we kind of let it be true, and we want to be careful about that. So what makes something credible? First, you want to talk or look at where it was published. In what was it published? Was it just published on a blog or someone's personal website? Well, that's not credible, guys. Was it published on a news station, a news website like CBS or Fox News? Well, it's probably credible, but you want to be careful because these news stations or sites also have areas where they have bloggers. They're bloggers that write opinionated pieces, and you want to be careful there, guys. Those aren't considered credible, and the news station doesn't even necessarily say they represent or those people represent them. They are just allowing them to write opinionated pieces because it brings more traffic to the overall website because people, of course, get hot under the collar and start commenting. So those are not, make sure you're not reading someone's blog that's on the website. So you go to CBS and you start looking at something, you're like, wow, this feels highly opinionated. Look up and read around on the page. Somewhere it will say either it's an opinion piece or it is an editorial piece or it is someone's blog. And you can click on the author and see, are they writing these highly biased pieces? Okay, so be careful about that, where it's published. The best place to find something, guys, is in a peer-reviewed journal. A peer-reviewed journal is a journal that puts out research and information that has been reviewed, literally, by peers. And by that I mean they are people who are considered somewhat experts in their field. And different fields put out different peer-reviewed journals. If doctors have several peer-reviewed journals, but there's like 3 or 4 that are considered really, really reliable. Any profession really has a peer-reviewed journal, most likely, where research comes out. And peer-reviewed means that they have a panel of people who are considered credible in their field, hopefully somewhat experts in their field, not someone who's brand new to it, but someone who has been doing it for a while. And they literally review or read what is going to be published before it is published to say, yes, you know, this seems like really good information. This is not a highly biased piece. Yes, I feel the research was done in a correct fashion, that sort of thing. These are often, you can find peer-reviewed journals in our library, but be careful when you go in the library. Do not pull something up from the, like from a pro-con thing or something from the area that talks about different opinions on things. Peer-reviewed journals, you can search just for that, and I'll show you how in a minute. Why was it published? Think about the ulterior motive. Why was this published? Was it published to inform, or was it published to persuade? Be very careful about that, and you'll notice that by the type of language it's going to use. When it's informing, it will normally, especially research paper, will normally say at the end there's more research needed. Rarely is the research completely conclusive, especially if it's only been done 1 or 2 times. Research needs to be done over and over and over before they can say, yeah, we think this is probably the truth. Look at when it was published. 10 years is as far back as you want to go, but really, guys, 5 years is more reliable, more credible. When we're talking about especially things that are new right now, there are big things that people are discussing now, say minimum wage or legalization of medical marijuana or this, that, and the other. You're going to want to definitely find things that are 5 years or younger as far as the publishing date. And then who wrote it? Guys, it's not hard to Google those people. Google them and see, are they writing highly biased things or are they considered an expert in their field? So, as I said, who is the author? And you want to really carefully look at that author and say, hey, are they getting paid to say this? Let me see if they are sponsored by somebody, that sort of thing. Is there any reason for bias? Why might this person be biased? Even on research papers, guys, you have to say, why might this person be biased? Are they perhaps getting ready to sell a book based on this? Are they being sponsored by a certain group that's giving them grant money and they want the research to turn out that way? So be careful about bias. And that's just in peer review journals. It's even more obvious when you're looking on just general websites. Can you verify the information with credible sources? And most likely, guys, they should actually list those credible sources. Does it contain loaded language? Guys, that's emotional language that is designed to make you feel a certain way. And they're normally very tricky with it. They will do things like they may say, if they're discussing, say, the overly conservative Republican or the far left-wing Democrat or the Tea Party fanatic, if they're saying words like that, that's just an opinion piece, guys. If those kind of words are coming out, then you want to be careful. That is loaded language that is meant to make you feel a certain way about that person, and that shows there's a lot of bias in here. You don't want to use that as any type of information. So I love this quote. The thing about quotes from the internet is that it's hard to verify their authenticity. Abraham Lincoln. Clearly he didn't say that because he wasn't around when the internet was, but that makes me laugh. I put that on my Facebook page. So just kind of looking at that, is it credible? Is it relevant? Is it current? Is it accurate? You can check the accuracy by checking the websites or the links that they give you or the research that they give you or where it's found. Is it reasonable, reliable, and objective? Now I am going to pull up for you a wonderful little document. We'll just talk about this really quickly. Factors to consider, and it goes from least to most reliable. So the type of source goes from an unfamiliar website all the way to very official websites. You want to be careful here in the middle. Published material, you want to make sure that it is considered a reliable source, all right? Author's background, if you don't know the author, be very skeptical and say, not reliable. Is the person educated on the topic? Make sure you check this person out. Make sure that they're not mostly producing biased information. Is this person a true expert in the field? And again, you've got to kind of check that out. Date published, no date, don't count on it. Outdated, probably not, but depending on what you're studying. And then if it's recently revised or written, that's very reliable. The depth of reviews, if there are reviews. If people are fighting back and forth on the page, if they've made comments, it's probably too controversial, it's too biased. Does it have a good public response or general approval? That's probably good, but it might not be if only people that are hold the same biases are reviewing it. But if it's a peer-reviewed journal, like we talked about, those are highly reliable. Sources cited. Guys, if they don't cite any sources, especially research, it's probably not reliable. Are there credible sources? Possibly reliable. Just be careful on this one because a lot of times they will only give sources clearly that promote what they're saying. Clearly they're going to do that. Anyone would do that. But you want to be careful and maybe look for the opposite. Citations referencing other well-cited works is the most reliable. And is it objective? Some things are clearly biased. Some things are very neutral and balanced. Now we're going to take a peek at a few different websites. So let's say we're looking for legalizing marijuana. And this is not medical marijuana. That is actually a better and more focused thing. You can actually find some really good information on that going both ways, promoting and demoting it. Some really good research information. But we're just going to go with legalizing marijuana because it's very easy to show some highly biased and not so biased sources. So we're look at this. Could pot soon be legal just about everywhere? Slate magazine, that's not considered any type of well-known and highly lauded type of publication. So we're just going to scoot on down here. Marijuana legalization and regulation, Drug Policy Alliance. Well, that sounds very official, and I've already pulled it up here, so I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to start reading about this. And the first thing I noticed is there's no author anywhere on this. And, okay, there's a link apparently to that Uruguay became the first country to legally regulate marijuana. And there's one about criminalization of marijuana use, but I really don't see much here about actual, I don't see any references, any true citing or citations. And notice it says activist toolkit. Well, the word activist immediately says, hey, there's some bias here. I'm going to click on this activist toolkit and see what it says. Federal activists, we can make a powerful impact by urging our members of Congress to end failed drug war policies. So clearly, and if you want to click on this, I'm not going to, but clearly they are promoting the legalization of marijuana. If it says activist, we know what an activist is. Now here they have some good fact sheets, but again, I'm going to be very, very leery at this point because I clearly recognize that this is a very biased site. So I'm going to click off that site and come back over here and look at our next one. Let's get, oh, look at Just Say Now, legalize marijuana. Well, I'm going to look at that, or actually, we're going to look at NORML. There it is. NORML, working to reform marijuana laws. You really don't need to look at either of these because you can tell they're highly biased just from their title. But let's just click on one of them. Working to reform marijuana laws. Already we know it's too biased. You can start scrolling down and see that there are too many biased things on here. It's just not a reliable site. It's going to be far too biased. So we're not going to do that one. But here's one that was interesting. Marijuana legalization from the White House. So I'm going to click on it. We can consider the White House most likely a very reliable source. Here they have just a little snippet, but there's more information in the Marijuana Resource Center. So let's click on that and wait not so patiently for it. It talks about that it's not easy to find the latest research-based information on how to answer the common questions about its health effects. And that's true. It is difficult to find information on marijuana. We're waiting not so patiently for this to happen. Again, guys, remember that medical marijuana is very different from just marijuana as a recreational tool. Medical marijuana is going to be a whole different kind of fight and a whole different set of information. And I'm not sure why it's not going to this because actually the Marijuana Resource Center is great. There it is. It's got facts, state laws, public health consequences of marijuana legalization. So we want to read through all that. And if you click on this, I want to show you what is a good example of something that is highly cited, highly backed up from other resources or other citations or other studies that make this something that's not opinionated. It is something that is very well researched. We're going to wait for it, but while we're waiting, we can look at that. Now, it says, hey, there's a little bit of bias here, or a great bit. The administration steadfastly opposes legalization of marijuana and other drugs because legalization would increase the availability and use of illicit drugs and pose a significant health safety risk to all Americans, particularly young people. The web-based resource center provides the general public, community leaders, and other interested people with the facts, knowledge, and tools to better understand and address marijuana in their communities. This resource center will be regularly updated and expanded to address emerging issues, research, and prevention tools, and highlight successful local efforts to reduce the use of marijuana. So clearly there is some bias here. I'm waiting patiently for this to pull up, and it doesn't seem to want to. But guys, on that page, it gives, when you scroll down to the bottom, it gives about 15 different sources. And each of those sources are from medical studies and scientific studies. It's not from, you know, Joe Schmo saying, I use this, you know, my whole life and there's nothing wrong with me. That very well may be true, but that's not considered a highly reliable source. I'm tired of waiting on this. Here it comes. Thank goodness. I was about to get rid of it. So there's a whole bunch of information here, and it's nice and easy to read, but here's what I wanted you to see. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Tons of cited resources. And if you look at, let's just look at a few of them. The title of this one, Comparative Epidemiology of Dependence on Tobacco, Alcohol, Controlled Substances, and Inhalants. Basic findings from the National Comorbidity Survey, Experimental and Clinical Psychopharmacology. So this is actually a peer-reviewed journal. That sounds, it's just basic findings. So that is honest to goodness research. So you can look through each of these and see what they found, and realize that what is up here is credible. if you go down here. And the nice thing is there's links so you can go to them and read those as well. Guys, that makes it a highly, although somewhat biased, it's still highly credible and highly reliable. Guys, I hope that helps. Thanks so much. Bye.